So, Algebra 1, we've had three methods for solving quadratics. And what I mean by that is f of x equal ax squared plus bx plus c. This is a quadratic function. So this is a quadratic function. But we've been solving quadratic equations. So ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. This is a quadratic equation. So the methods we've used for solving these, three methods: factoring, square roots of both sides, and the latest was complete the square. So when can I use factoring? Well, it's sort of a duh, when it works, okay? Basically, when factorable. So what I mean by that is you're looking at x squared plus bx plus c, or ax squared plus bx plus c, and we know how to factor those. So if you can factor it, then that's when you can use factoring. The advantages are this is pretty quick, okay? And it takes the quadratic and it simplifies to two linear equations. For example, you get x plus 1 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0. The disadvantage of factoring, it doesn't always work. So again, when it works, it works. When it doesn't, it does not. What about square roots? This is when I take the square root of both sides. So this is something like, ax plus c squared equals d, something like this. So what has to happen, when can I use it, is when you have a square term only. So you don't have this linear term bx lying around there. The advantages are this is pretty quick to do, okay? But the disadvantage, again, this does not always work. Again, if you've got a linear term there, then you can't take the square root of both sides. Now complete the square we did the last time we were together. One of the advantages, when can I use this? You can always do this. So one of the advantages is in that it always works. One of the disadvantages, compared to the other two, this can be slower. It can have more algebra or algebraic steps. And you can have, in these things, you can have lots of fractions. So again, when you're on a test and you're trying to solve, you're trying to use the quickest, easiest method. So complete the square will never be the quickest, easiest, but it always works. The last method we need to talk about is the quadratic formula, okay? So if we look at this, this is our quadratic equation. I can write this as ax squared plus bx equals negative c. Now I can divide both sides by a. What that gives me is x squared plus b over ax equals negative c over a. Now what I want to do is complete the square. So I need to look at the x terms. You need to take b over a, you need to take b over a, you need to take 1/2 of that, okay, and then you square it. So I'm going to add b over 2a squared. I need to add this to both sides. So this allows us to complete the square. So I end up with x plus b over 2a squared equals b over 2a. Let's just go ahead and square that. That's b squared over 4a squared minus c over a. Now let's work with this. I need a common denominator here. So if I multiply this by 4a over 4a, the common denominator is 4a squared. So I get b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. So tied together, this is what we have now. You've got x plus b over 2a squared equals b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Now you take the square root of both sides, and you get x plus b over 2a equals plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over the square root of 4a squared. X plus b over 2a equals plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac. The square root of 4a squared is 2a. So I get x equals negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Those have a common denominator. So x is negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac, all of that over 2a. That is our quadratic formula. So this is a way of solving any equation that looks like this for x without factoring, without completing the square, without taking square roots. It's just a formula where I plug in the numbers. So here's my quadratic formula. X is negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So in this problem, a is 3, b is 4, c is negative 5. So I'm substituting into this formula, and I get x equals negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now we've moved into, there's no more algebra. This is all arithmetic, okay? So it's all arithmetic and simplification from here. Negative 4 plus or minus, this is 16 plus 60 over 6. So x is negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 76 over 3. Over 6. Now I have to look at the square root of 76. That's an even number. So 76 is what? 2 times 38, which is 2 times 19. So there's a perfect square. 4 times 19. So the square root of 4 times 19 is 2 square root of 19. So this is x equals negative 4, 6 plus or minus 2 root 19 over 6. If I simplify, this is x equals negative 2/3 plus or minus the square root of 19 over 3. That's my answer. So there are actually two solutions here. This could not factor because when I factor, I get rational numbers. So I would not have been able to factor and find that particular solution. So the only methods I have would have been completing the square or quadratic formula. Another thing that's always helpful, as it is when factoring, is if there is a greatest common factor, factor that out. So if I do that, I get a equal 1, b equals 5, and negative 36. If I did not do that, a would be 10, b would be 50, and C would be negative 360. You'll get the same answer. This is more work, okay? Now, what a lot of people do is to do something called just calculate b squared minus 4ac first. It just breaks the problem up into two logical pieces. So b squared is going to be what? 25 minus 4 times 1 times negative 36. This is going to be 25 plus 144, which is 169. So now what I can do is I can come over here to the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of 169 over 2a, which is going to be 2. So it means that it just looks simpler in terms of once I've done the b squared minus 4ac and get it down to one number, it eliminates a lot of this stuff having to happen. Like I said, it's the same math, you just break it up into pieces. So this is going to be x equals negative 5 plus or minus square root of 169 is 13 over 2. So I get negative 5 plus 13 over 2, negative 5 minus 13 over 2. Final answer, this one is going to give me what, 8 over 2? The next was negative 18 over 2, negative 9. Now I see by these answers, I could have factored this. If I look at this, are there numbers that multiply to negative 36 and add to positive 5? Well, that's a 9 and a 4 right there. So this is x minus 4, x plus 9 equals 0, x equals 4, and negative 9. Now people talk about not liking factoring, but that's a lot quicker. So that's why we teach factoring first, is because if it works, it's quicker. But it doesn't always work. And that's why we have the quadratic formula in completing this square. So in this one, set it equal to 0 is your first step. 1, negative 5, negative 7. As many times as you can, write down the quadratic formula. That will keep you from having to memorize it on test. And so if I calculate b squared minus 4ac, that's going to be what, 25 minus 4 times 1 times negative 7. 25 plus 28 equals 53. So now I get x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So this one does not simplify. Like I said, if you split it up into 5 halves plus or minus 53 over 2, either way, there's no simplification here. So if it was 6 over 2, then I would simplify, but there's no simplifying these fractions. So my answer is x equal 5 halves plus or minus the square root of 53 over 2. And like I said, you could write it either way as one fraction or 2 there. So I get two solutions that are real numbers, okay? So I see that there are real solutions. Don't worry about the complex. We won't have complex showing up here. That's more of an Algebra 2 concept. If I look at this one, this is 4x squared minus 12x minus 9 equals 0. So 12x. A is 4, B is negative 12, C is negative 9. So quadratic formula. B squared minus 4ac is going to be what, 144 minus 4 times 4 times negative 9. And let me back up. This is a plus 9, sorry. So plus 9, that's a plus 9. So this is 144 minus 144 equals 0. So that's going to simplify it, because that means that that whole thing is going to be 0. So it's going to be plus or minus 0. I'm going to get one solution here. So I'm going to get x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2a. So this is just 0 right here. So I'm going to get one answer here. So it's 12/8 or 3/2. Okay. So this one simplifies because the b squared minus 4ac was 0. So here I get x equals 3/2. I only get one solution, which is a real number. So again, think about it graphically. This is where it equals 0. What kind of parabola would have no solution to equal 0? That means it doesn't cross the x-axis. Well, that would be a parabola that looks like this or like this. That's what it means when you have, sorry, back up. This one does have, it only has one solution. How can I have one solution? The only way to have one solution is if the vertex is right there. Okay, that's the only way I have one solution, or if the vertex is like that. So when the b squared minus 4ac was 0, I only got one answer, which means when I set it equal to 0, I'm finding the vertex. Look at this one. Again, a equal 1, negative 6, and 10. So b squared minus 4ac is going to be 36 minus 4 times 1 times 10. This is 36 minus 40, which is negative 4. So now I'm going to get x equals negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now I've got a problem. Square root of negative 4 is not real. Okay, so this number is not real. So that means that if I look at it, I have no real solution. So zero real solutions. What would it mean to have no real solutions? It means when you're looking for where it intersects with the x-axis, you've got a parabola that does either this or this. So graphically, that's what's going on, and that's how I got no real solution. Now in your Algebra 2 class in upper school, you'll find that there are complex solutions, but we're not going into that right now. Again, look at this. This is 3x squared plus 14x plus 9 equals 0. So a is 3, b is 14, c is 9, x is negative b, so b squared minus 4ac is going to be what, 196 minus 4 times 3 times 9. So this is 196 minus 108. And so that gives me 88. So now use the quadratic formula. X is negative 14 plus or minus the square root of 88 over 2a. So this is 14 plus or minus over 6. So let's look at 88. That is 2 times 44, which is 2 times 22, which is 2 times 11. So there's my perfect square. This is 4 times 22. So the square root of that is going to be 2 root 22. So I get x is negative 14 over 6 plus or minus 2 root 22 over 6, and then simplify. So x is what? Negative 7/3 plus or minus root 22 over 3. So there are two answers here. Two solutions which are real. Okay. And that should lead you up into the homework for this section.